Hello, Lobo fans. Welcome into your first Coaches Show for 2022. I'm your host, Robert Portnoy. We talk Lobo football with third-year head coach Danny Gonzales as the opener is close at hand. Coach G, great to be with you. How are you?
Great. It's good to have you back for another season and doing this all over again, and how exciting it's been. I mean, it's been a long time since we've done it, so we're ready to play games. Let's do this.
Let's do this. Camp has closed for Lobo football. How was training camp?
It was good. I thought the first 2 weeks we beat them up pretty good. They were a little bit tired last week, first week of school, which is normal. I thought the energy was really good today. We got a lot out of it. I mean, they're long days. They start at 6 a.m. and they usually end at 10 p.m. So it's good for them to get a sense of what life's going to be after football's done. Not everywhere works those hours, but some people do. And so I thought it was good for them.
Okay, so what about the progress of the team from spring to fall? What did you see?
Well, first and foremost, the quarterback. Miles Kendrick wasn't with us in the spring physically. I mean, he was there, but he wasn't able to participate. And he's been unbelievable since we got back in July. And over the final 2 weeks of camp, it kind of played itself out. So we're better there. And then I think offensive line-wise, those guys up front have really become cohesive and have done some really good things. Now, we haven't played a game yet against anybody, so to see how far they've come will not be seen until next week, but we've made progress.
All right, let's dig a little deeper into the starting quarterback. First of all, great competition for Miles to win out the starting job, right?
It was early on. I think it was really was Miles, and Miles was not in the competition. He kind of weeded himself out, and then as it played along, Justin and CJ made a couple of mistakes here and there, and Miles just kept plugging along, and then all of a sudden Miles was making play after play, and so CJ and Justin did a really good job. So I think we've got three quarterbacks that are very capable of helping this team win. I think at the end, the experience of playing Division I football and his maturity and having being a little bit older guy probably helped Miles out.
Okay, Miles Kendrick, Kansas transfer. He's had a handful of starts, played a bunch of games for a Big 12 team. How ready is he to be your starting quarterback?
I saw some good things out there today. I mean, leadership-wise, he's got some experience that we don't have. And so I'm excited about him.
Well, he's coming off that foot injury, too. He had a broken foot that took out his last season at Kansas. Is he ready?
You know, back in November, I mean, he really was his leg. I mean, it was a bad, gruesome injury. And I didn't think he was going to be ready. At the end of May, I had the doctors look at him to see if we needed to medical redshirt him because he just wasn't moving around very well. I thought he made some progress, and I think he might have overdone it one day during the spring workouts trying to compete with our guys. And I thought he hurt himself. Well, over the month of May, he spent so much time. He lived in the training room, and Steve and Bob did a phenomenal job. And when we got back in summer, the limp was disappeared. And as we got further along and into camp, there's nothing that we can't do with our offense when Miles is a quarterback, which is really exciting.
Well, the hope is that Miles Kendrick can be a true dual threat quarterback. Is he that?
He is. And if he wasn't, we were going to have to tailor the offense because the best player's going to play. And when you have a guy that's proven himself to be that, you kind of adjustment. But I think it doesn't matter which three of those guys are in there. We're going to run the same offense. And then Isaiah Chavez has some stuff for some packages and things. So you got four guys that do different things, but we don't have to tailor the whole system, so the other 10 don't have to learn something new.
One of the big new changes for Lobo football in 2022 is on the offensive line. You brought in 3 new players. Of the 5 starters, 3 are fresh faces and big bodies, right?
They are. They're bigger. They're stronger than what we've been because of the weight room that we've been allowed to do. They're probably a little bit more athletic. We brought 7 transfers in total up front to help that side of the ball out, and I think it's made a significant impact. And we were pretty innovative with some of the things that we did because those 5 guys have to be on the same page. And we did different things. We took them camping up in the Jemez Mountains. We did some things with the Albuquerque Police Department. I mean, we did a lot of team building within that unit to help those guys and try and fester that relationship faster. And I think it's played out pretty good.
One of the strengths of the 2021 squad was that defense. You took a nice step forward with being in the top 50 in the entire country in total defense. Why do you think that you were able to make that jump?
Well, you know, the guys are getting a better idea of what we do on defense schematically. They're starting to understand the concepts better. And then we've got some pretty good players. Top 44 is 44th being in the top 50 is the best we've been around here since 08, our last time that we were here. But that ain't anywhere near our standard. And I think the kids understand that. I don't think a single one of them was excited to be 44. They want to be top 25, top 15. And so we know what they have the work in front of them, and they aspire to be that. And if you got good enough players, you can get there.
All right, we take a deeper look into the Lobo offense for 2022 when we come back on the Lobo Coaches Show. We're back on episode 1 of your Lobo Coaches Show for 2022. It's football season. We have Lobo head coach Danny Gonzales. I'm Robert Portnoy. It's time to dig deeper into the offense. And we already spent a lot of time on the quarterback competition won by the transfer from Kansas, Miles Kendrick. You mentioned Isaiah Chavez. We know about Justin Holiday and C.J. Montez. They were in that heated three-way battle to be the starter. Isaiah has started and won some games, but he has been amazing in accepting his role. And I saw him get into the scouts at practice this week to make sure they were giving a good look to the defense. He's an incredible team guy, isn't he?
Unbelievable team guy. I mean, Isaiah Chavez, he understands his role on this team. He's done some really good things. He was a little bit injured in the spring, came back healthy for the summer. He is the ultimate team guy. I mean, he's our backup deep snapper. We've got some packages for him at the quarterback position. He wants to be on special teams. I mean, he understands his role and how he can help this football team win games. And obviously, if things go, I mean, if we lose guy after guy after guy, he's always ready. So, I mean, he's a great Lobo, ultimate team guy, and I love that Isaiah Chavez is on our football team.
We talked about the revamped and bigger offensive line. Running behind those guys is a new stable of running backs that's led by a player that you asked to be a scout last year and win his way back onto the team, Nate Jones, and then some new faces that look really exciting.
You know, Nate Jones is a really good player. He displayed that his true freshman year when we were in Vegas, and he's done some really good things. Now, he did get in my doghouse a little bit. He still owes me a little bit, so he's going to play a lot this year. He's going to be a really good player in this league, and I'm excited about Nate. But I'm more excited about the person that Nate Jones has become. And when you can impact a kid that way, I think he's grown up a lot from the stuff that he's done around here. And I'm excited to have him back on our football team and participating on game day.
Players like Sherrod White, Christian Washington, new faces, a returner, Chad Alexander, all could contribute. Tell us about those guys.
Speed. We finally got speed in that backfield. Christian Washington, 10-400 meter guy. Zach Vigil, 10-700 meter guy. Myron Carter, 10-500 meter guy. I mean, those guys, every time they touch it, can go 80 yards. Nate Jones, he proved what he could do as a true freshman in 2020. Chad Alexander's done some really good things. He's had opportunities where he's tripped himself up, and I think he's, through the weight room and stuff, he's kind of fixed some of that. So I'm excited about that room. I mean, there's a lot of explosive plays in there, and plus they catch the ball out of the backfield really well. So, I mean, you're going to see a bunch of different names back there with some of our option stuff. You'll see Luke and Jamar back there at times. So, I mean, we've got some excitement coming out of that backfield.
There's also a new face on the edge. I was looking for one of those game breakers on the outside, and you know him very well. He's a player from Arizona State, Jordan Porter.
You know, our wide receiver depth is significantly better than it was last year. Jordan Porter on one side, Luke on one side. I mean, you've got two guys that can take the top off. We recently moved Deuce Jones over there, who might be the fastest guy on our team. Now, I probably just struck up a whole controversy with a bunch of guys on our team, but that's okay. Let's go out there and prove it. But he can open up the field and take the top off. And so you add some true freshmen like Jamar Sanders and Tristan White into that you've got the Erickson brothers. So I mean, we've got some guys and some weapons on the outside that we have not had that will help the quarterbacks tremendously. It'll take some of the pressure off the box. I mean, last 2 years they've been able to put 9-10 guys in the box and we couldn't throw it. Well, I think there's going to be some differences this year.
I might lobby for a race in full pads and cleats on grass, see who the fastest Lobo is. That would be fun, wouldn't it?
That'd be exciting. I mean, there's some guys in there that are pretty confident with their speed, and now that we have some faster guys on campus, it would be a pretty good race.
Okay, so what about the tight end position? I know you love your returning stud, Trace Bruckler.
You know what? He's one of the top 5 tight ends in this league, and I think he's got a chance to climb even higher on that list. And then we've got Will Dennis, who's a transfer from Coffeyville Community College, who, I mean, he's kind of garnering the nickname Pipes around here because he did such a great job in the offseason of getting bigger. You throw into the mix Elijah Queen, who I think is going to be a really good tight end in this league over the next couple of years. He's going to create some matchup problems at being 6'5", 230, runs like a receiver, is learning how to be physical like a tight end. Connor Widoff, who's done some really good things around here the last 2 years. And then we've got a guy named Jaden Hullaby, the transfer from Texas, who started in the tight end room. We've adjusted him to the running back room. He's kind of an H-back, fullback. And then we made a mistake of handing him the ball a couple times in scrimmages. So now he's our big back because he made some big plays. So those two rooms, I expect to see significant improvement this year on the field.
Well, one of the things that Coach G has been very adamant about over his first 2 seasons is going for it on 4th down. I feel like with a remade offensive line, a good stable of backs, potential dual threat quarterback, that's going to continue in 2022, isn't
Absolutely. If we get anywhere near the 50-yard line, and even sometimes before that, we got a fourth down opportunity and we can make it, we're going for it. Because the more possessions you can steal in a game, the better chance you have at winning. And if we're playing really good on defense, then why not take those chances? Now, if we can't slow them down, we're going to punt the ball and see if we can stay in the game. But if we've got an opportunity on fourth and short and we're playing good on defense, you can bet yourself we're going for it.
One thing you can't coach is speed. You talked about guys with sprinters' speed, but talk about recruiting that and how difficult that is and how important it is and how it can be so transformative.
You know, it changes the game. It changes the way people scheme against you, how they game plan. You can't, like you said, you can't coach it, but you can't go out and get a bunch of track guys that can't play football either. And so all these guys, they ran track, but they're really good football players. And you can get a guy that's fast as can be, and if you put the ball in his hands, it doesn't matter. So we've got some guys that ran track that I think are pretty good football players.
Well, we're going to get to see them, and I know you can't wait. I can't wait. We switch to defense next on your Lobo Coaches Show. Welcome back into your Lobo Coaches Show with Lobo head football coach Danny Gonzales. I'm Robert Portnoy. Coach G, it's time to talk D, and I know that's really close to your heart. Year 3 with your mentor, Coach Long. How has it been, and what are your expectations for 2022?
Big expectations. The third year in the scheme of things, the kids understand the concepts better. And when they understand the concepts better, we can run things that we haven't practiced in practice, and they usually will execute it pretty good. If we have a game plan where we might have missed what they're attacking us, and we've got some things in the arsenal that we've run a couple of years ago or last season that we can go to, the kids understand the concepts. And when you can do that, you've made significant progress. And I think our older guys, the Ricos and Jareks and Tavians, who it doesn't seem like they've been around very long, but they understand the scheme. And so when you get that, and you got a guy like Jake Saltonstall, who we have in the middle right now, if the middle's solidified, you got a chance to be pretty good. So I think we'll probably still hunt up a couple defensive ends for some depth at that spot, but we've got some pieces. If they'll play hard, we'll be okay.
One of the tricks for the offense, practicing against the Lobo defense, I couldn't believe this, Coach G. I had a conversation with a former Lobo QB great, Cole McCamey, and he talked to me about how you're preparing for the opponent. Maybe the opponent runs just a shell, a Tampa 2. It's pretty vanilla. But then those 35 plays every day that they're going against the Lobo defense, it's nothing like that at all. He said sometimes we were scheming up against the Lobo D because we were getting our butts kicked.
At times. I mean, it's there's a fine mix of that. I mean, you have to give the offense a chance to be successful on Saturdays with what they're going to see. And so we do some service periods where the first team defense will give them a scout look, because I think the speed of it is very important. But speed on speed, you can't replace that. And our guys getting good at what they do on both sides of the ball, you got to go against each other. And so sometimes if they want to compete, they have to do some special things to give themselves a chance. And I'm okay with that. It makes them iron sharpens iron, one of those philosophies. So we do it quite a bit.
I love that. Okay, so let's get specific now. The Lobo front line. You had to do a little mixing and matching because of some injuries at the nose position. And now it looks like you've settled on a setup with moving one of your ends, Jake Saltonstall, to the nose.
You know, we moved him a couple weeks ago. I don't think he was prepared at the time because he had been polishing his edge rushing and all those. And he's made a great impact in there. We just had a sit down this afternoon, and the great thing about Jake Saltonstall is Jake Saltonstall's bought into our program, and he's going to do what's best for the team. And I think he's kind of seeing how valuable he's become inside. He's done a really good job at nose guard over the last couple of weeks. And so I'm excited with what he's doing there. He's been playing with great pad level and playing with leverage. So he's given us a different dynamic in there, which has been good.
How good can Harris and Durame be on the edges?
You know what? They've had a pretty good camp. And then if we can get Kyler Drake back, he'll practice tomorrow. That'll give us some added depth there. Destin Gaynor and Jaden Phillips are both guys that can really help at that spot. And the one that has really battled injury is Tyler Keeney through camp. Hurt his ankle pretty bad early on, got him back and healthy, and his first day back, he got rolled up on a fluke play on his knee. So he's going to add some depth, especially inside. And so once we get him healthy, we'll have that 6, 7, 8-man rotation that I've been talking about and see some productivity out of it.
The linebackers, deep, experienced, the true core and strength of your defense?
I would say so. I mean, if you look at it right now, when you're pretty solid up the middle, and I think we've been pretty good with Jake Saltonstall, And then Deion Hunter and Ray Luatele, I think between those two guys, we've got one starting linebacker that's really, really good, the way they both play. And then Tavian Combs in the middle. Those three spots, we've built everything else around them. And when you do that, you've got a chance because you can plug some pieces. You have to be strong up the middle in any defensive scheme you run. And those four guys give us that. Now, the linebackers, Deion and Ray in the middle, like I said, I see that as being, we should call him Deion Luatele because, it doesn't matter who's in there. That guy is violent, and that's the way you want that guy to be. And then you've got Rico and Cy on the outside, who Cy might be the smartest football player on our team. He's kind of becoming the leader out there. And Rico's the oldest one who kind of grabs Cy by the neck and tells him, boys, this is my team. And then you got Cody and Alec behind him, and behind those two guys. I think we have some of the best linebackers in this league. And so I'm really excited to watch them play.
Okay, the back line. Coach has already referenced the Lobo. That would be Tavian Combs, third-year player, right in the middle. The other safeties, obviously Jarek Reed. He's preseason All-Mountain West. You've got the sophomore Ronald Wilson, unbelievable. And the corners, what about the back line?
At corner, we've got Dante Martin and A.J. Odoms, who are two starters right now. And then behind them, you've got Zach Morris. Hunter Sellers is nursing a little knee injury. Bryson Taylor. We got Josh Williamson, another transfer in. So we've got some depth on the perimeter. And then inside, obviously you mentioned the three starters, but behind them, we've got Benji Johnson, who we moved from receiver, who's done a great job since the spring, and A.J. Halsey, who might be one of the most dynamic true freshmen we have. Jamarius Lewis, Glover Quinn's nephew. And then we've got a couple guys, Antonio Hunt, Kalen Woods, that can play in the secondary. So we've got some depth, but the best part of that depth is all 8 of those guys that I mentioned behind the starters, they're all on special teams. And they're all in starting roles on special teams. We haven't had that since I've been here. And that helps you dynamically for Coach Christian. Obviously, you can scheme and do different things, but those starters won't get as tired. Now, the good teams I've been on, when you take special teams and reps away from the starters, they get just so mad because that's their opportunity to get to the next level. So we've got a little bit of that going on right now, which creates some excitement and competition, which is what I've been begging for 2 years.
That's a good thing, right?
It is a great thing.
All right, let's take a timeout. We come back on the other side. We'll take a look at Lobo's special teams and preview the Week 1 opponent at home, Maine, next. Back to wrap up your first edition for 2022 of the Lobo Coaches Show. I'm Robert Portnoy with Lobo head football coach Danny Gonzales. Coach G, a quick look at special teams before we preview Maine, your first week opponent. You have a preseason All-Mountain West punter.
We do, and hopefully Aaron will live up to that. He's at a pretty good camp. We're kind of taking it back off his legs a little bit, so he'll be ready to go on Saturday. So there's a lot of mechanical work you can fix with drops and all those things. So I expect him to have a good season.
How tricky are you going to get with the rollout punts? The old Aussie rules stuff that Tyson Dyer used to do, any of that stuff?
If we can't protect up the middle, absolutely. But ideally, the way Aaron kicks the ball, we'd like to be able to just punt down the middle and cover. We have some athletes that can run down there and cover this year. So ideally, but we will never give up a block punt if we can't protect.
He's always had a big leg. He's been a kickoff specialist. Now he's your place kicker, George Steinkamp.
Biggest leg I've ever been around, and I've been around some pretty big legs. The 55-yarder he hit at camp 2 weeks ago would have been good from 70. And we tried a 67-yarder in a 2-minute situation last week, and he was about 5 yards short. So he's got some unbelievable power. If he can stay consistent, he can be one of the long line of great kickers around here.
The punter, Aaron Rodriguez, is the holder. What about Isaiah Perez, your snapper? He looks like he's going to run down and make a bunch of tackles. He's big.
You know, he was the third leading tackler in deep snappers among in the country last year, and that was not starting every single game. Troy Cicero started the first 3 games before Isaiah came in, so with him having a full season and his ability, and he thinks of himself as a tough guy, which is what you want. He's not afraid to run into somebody. So I like him. He gives us an added presence in coverage.
Okay, before we get to Maine, what about kick and punt coverage and kick and punt return?
We've got a lot more depth, both at linebacker, safety, wide receiver, running back, so you should see those guys out there trying to be aggressive. And like I said earlier, a lot of guys have an opportunity to make it to the next level on special teams. And guys are getting mad when we're still in their special teams reps. So you're going to see some young guys in there at the dismay of some of our older guys, and that's okay.
And look for Luke Wysong to do some great things in punt and kick return.
Well, that's the plan. And then we've got some other good. Jamar Sanders has a chance to get back there. We've got some guys that have some speed. So if Luke is taking a beating at times, we've got some other weapons to put back there. But I think Luke's got a knack for that and will be really special once again.
FCS Maine from the Colonial Athletic Association comes to Albuquerque week 1. Joe Fagnano is a quarterback who had a big high ankle sprain early last year, came back, decided not to look at a medical redshirt, and took his team to 2 victories at the end of the year.
He did. Really good player. If it wasn't for the ankle injury, would have probably played more. They've got the same offensive staff that they've had for the last 5 years, so there'll be a lot of consistency there. They know what they're doing schematically. They've got 2 great running backs that'll pound you and are good at any level, doesn't matter what football you play. And then Coach Stevens, his story is similar to mine. He's a former Maine alumni that's back. He coached there before, and he's had a great defensive history. And so it's an exciting opportunity to compete against a really good football team.
This is also an interesting opportunity always, every year against an FCS opponent. You guys jumped to a big lead, season ago, and then kind of got knocked back a little bit. You have to guard against getting comfortable, don't you?
Absolutely. I mean, they're good enough to beat us. I've been a part of 2 teams. Those 6, Portland State came up here and beat the Lobos. In 2013, Jimmy Garoppolo and Eastern Illinois came in and beat San Diego State. So you can't ever take anything too lightly. Now, 3-9 football team, if they take somebody lightly, then we're doing a terrible job of coaching.
Coach G, I can't wait for the season opener, 6 p.m. Saturday, University Stadium, Maine. Good luck as you start your 3rd year as the Lobo head man.
Let's fill the den. Let's do it. Thank you. I appreciate it.
For Danny Gonzales, I'm Robert Portnoy, and for Chase Christensen, our broadcast director. So long, everybody. We'll see you Saturday at University Stadium. Go Lobos!